grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my lord.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
The Nigerian Police Force, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused.
Country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
All right, welcome. It's a very warm evening on Planet Radio 101.1 FM and Spectrum TV of Star Times and Free to Air Television. My name is Anthony, a book and legal practitioner with law partners and associates, and the program you're listening to and watching is Legally Speaking. All right, I will be looking at three issues today. Basically, one would be the appointment of new judicial officers, about 37 of them by the National Judicial Council. The other will be a review of, maybe an update on the amendment of the retirement age of the judges of the State High Court. The other part of it that we omitted to discuss last week. All right, then we will look at a final aspect of today's program, which will be on the assessment of the Administration of Criminal Justice Law and Act, especially as it regards to plea bargain. How effective has it been? How do we appreciate it? But today I have two guests with me in the studio to discuss this and more. I will start the introduction by my far left, Hannah Essien. Hannah Essien is a regular face on the program, the social commentator, and she is a teacher. Hannah, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, I have one who is not a teacher and an aspirant to the bar, that's the Nigerian Bar Association. She's actually doing her studies with the Nigerian Law School, Yola campus. Her name is Beatrice Ita. Beatrice, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Precious. Yes, that's Precious.
Yes, it's Precious.
Oh, I did a big start today. Precious Ita. All right, Precious, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we start first with congratulating 37 appointees or elevations. About 37 judicial officers have been elevated to various levels of the bench, right? I'm sure Precious will appreciate that more than Hannah. Hannah, I'm not saying you won't appreciate it. So about 4 judges of high courts for Katsina State. If I might go through them, we have 8 judges of the state high courts of Edo State. We have 5 judges of Delta State High Court, 3 judges of Benue State High Court. We also have presidents of Court of Appeal in Delta State, Chief Judge of Bayelsa State High Court, Chief Judge of Edo State High Court, Chief Judge of Kano State High Court, and there are 9 justices of the Court of Appeal. That's my interest is the 9 justices of the Court of Appeal, particularly the two of the justices, which are Justice Okon Efreti Abang, that's our son, which has been elevated from the Federal High Court. I think he was in Abuja the last time out. He was in Warri, then to Abuja, and he elevated to the Court of Appeal now. We also have a Justice Jane, Honorable Justice Jane Esenewaniyan. Justice Jane Esenewaniyan was in the Federal High Court too, in Uyo, she's been elevated to the Court of Appeal now. I understand. I think their swearing in should be on Monday. A hearty congratulations to them. Unfortunately, we've not had any elevation or appointments to the State High Court of Akwa Ibom, and we really need judges in the High Courts of Akwa Ibom State. And I'm sure you're wondering, what is he talking about? Can't we just appoint justices, right? What's your mind?
Is there a procedure? I understand that it's the National Judicial Council that recommends candidates to who? Because what is coming to my mind is some months ago, is it up to years, when there was an issue about a person of Akwa Ibom State origin married in Cross River State. Yeah, who was recommended to be
the Chief Judge of Cross River State, and there was opposition even from the governor that she's not from Akwa Ibom, but she's been a judge of the Cross River State.
So I'm wondering, is it only the Chief Judge that governor has input?
No, generally all the judges, they must be recommended by the governor of the state.
Okay, so how
appointed by the governor.
Appointed by the governor.
Okay,
so
give us a guide.
Appointed by the governor on recommendation of the NJC and subject to approval by the Senate.
Subject to approval by the Senate or the House of Assembly, yes. In the case of the state Chief Judge, yes. Or state judges.
So you're now mentioning the state high courts. So that has nothing to do with the appointments and the elevations that we have just been talking about, because that one is at the federal.
No, they're all in the same category.
Are they?
Yeah, they are.
Because I wanted to ask, do judges of state high courts get elevated to courts of appeal, or it has to be federal high court? No. Okay.
All the justices, even from the industrial courts, you know that there are several courts of coordinate jurisdiction,
yes,
which includes the industrial courts,
family court.
Industrial, there are several of them. There are federal high courts, okay, yes, which is a different. They have a different chief judge. You have state high courts, which have several state high court chief judges.
Right? But are state high courts not of coordinate jurisdiction with federal high courts?
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to.
Yes.
So where does the family court come in? Because you people laughed. Okay. Is it not a high court?
All right. Now, okay, let me explain the family court issues. The people that sit as family court judges are equally state high court judges, only that they double as family court judge. So they take family court matters
along with their
civil matters and criminal matters. So family court is just seen like it, like you have a criminal court, you also have a family court, you know, same court.
All right.
So you are the same judge of the state high court, just that you do family court duties alongside, and probably road safety duty if you want to do safety.
All right, I'm clear on that. So
okay.
So what you're saying now about the state justices being appointed to the state high courts, it doesn't have any business with. I want us to be clear. The appointments here are for the federal high courts and the courts of appeal.
Okay,
because I heard you say it would have been good if judges are appointed to the courts in the states.
Okay.
So I want you to be clear on that.
Okay, like Precious said. Okay, like Precious said, the appointments to all cadre of this court of records,
yes,
are upon recommendation by the National Judicial Council, NJC.
I know that.
All right.
I'm
so
aware of that.
the list I mentioned included justices, high court judges in some states. Akwa Ibom wasn't listed as one of the states that were lucky enough to receive judges. Okay, but I said we need justice.
I've heard you use the word lucky enough to receive judges. So what happens is the NJC appoints, recommends judges and sends them to states.
Yes.
Whatever state they feel like.
Not they feel like. If the state chief judge indicates that we need 5 more judges and some nominations will be made, people will apply. Those applications are sent, they are assessed and say we found these 2, 3 or 4 worthy of elevation. They send them to they recommend them to the chief judge, who now does the appointment and the swearing in will be done by the chief judge. But the nomination will first pass through the agencies. Okay, so if Akwa Ibom, we know that as practicing lawyers, we know that we need more judicial officers in the states. We need to decongest the court. Okay, but sometimes the state governors will look at the fund they have. They say we don't have money to employ new judges.
That's right.
So let's keep it when we are able to fund the appointments.
And maybe, hopefully, when people retire, but unfortunately, the retirement age has been increased. So
talking about the retirement age being increased, that's what we discussed last time on Legally Speaking. We're looking at the amendment of the Constitution to include the retirement ages of judges of the High Court to a 70-year compulsory retirement. Okay, so last week we looked at it and made a lot of assessment, agreed and disagreed on some points of the increase in age. So judges of the state high court now no longer retire compulsorily at 65. They retire compulsorily at 70, but they can voluntarily retire after 65. Okay, but there were other benefits that came along with it, which we didn't have time to include. Some of which includes, yes, Hannah, will come to you, or is it who has the other? Yes, you want something?
Okay, the new law, I should call it that, now makes provision for life entitlement once you've served up to like 10 years.
Yes.
It's no longer 15. That was the former position, but now it's 10 years. Once you serve up to 10 years, you are entitled to life
pension and salaries,
and yes, salary and whatever comes with it.
Okay.
Yes. All
right. So Hannah, you see, it's like having a bloated account. If we had 5 judges, 10 of them have retired. It's as though you have 10, 15 judges. All right, which now makes you understand why some states are reluctant to hire more judges, because their wage bill increases. And like they now say, it's no longer 15. It used to be 15 before now. So you don't.
And the 15 was that if you do less than, you get pro rata.
Yeah, pro rata.
But now 10 years, you have your full, what you were paid in full while you were serving,
yes,
as pension.
So you keep receiving those salaries, another entitlement. And would you want to be a judge?
Definitely.
Why?
Wow.
Because of the pension?
No, aside from that, it's all about the judicial system. I personally feel like I can make an impact. So it is a platform that will give me, the opportunity to impact.
So is there a particular judge you have seen making an impact that has inspired you?
There are so many there, but currently, when I was in my externship, I served under the Honorable Justice Teresa Obud, and she's great. She's amazing. I love her. And there are a couple of others that I aspire to be. So yes.
All right.
Wow. That's nice to know. Well, I'm sure you don't know that the work of a judge is quite cumbersome.
No, I know.
And if you know that a judge has over 600 cases in her docket that she has to sit on every month, and that you sit on 26, 27 cases, and all of them are different, and you need to read all those files before you go to court. And I'm not sure if you have iron on your back where you need to sit every day, day in and day out. And you'll be sitting till you're 70, so your whole life is lost.
Well, she can live by 65.
She can live by 65.
You didn't mention that the payment is to be charged to
Yes, that's it. That's the ultimate part. That's the ultimate part. I think the most consistent form of payment is when you receive payment from the federal government. So everybody, I remember there was a time primary school teachers would want to go to would want their payment to be moved to the federal government, because they are sure that money to come in and as at when due. However, now there was a time we felt the federal consolidated fund is too choked up, so let's decentralize. State government take over primary schools, state government take over a lot of things. Even the state house of assembly were being paid from the state, and the state judicial service commission no, the state judges were paid from the state. Now, the new law says their accounts, their entitlements be charged directly to the federal government, and it's safer. Now, but you know why we want to have this, if I would call it security, is to promote the judges not being corrupt, right? Let them feel safe that whatever happens, if I retire today, I'll just go home and rest. I'm receiving my money. I don't have to work for money. I don't have to start thinking of where I'll get money from if I'm no longer a judge, especially if I have left honorably. Okay, so that was to give them that social security net. But can we say the same thing on? Can we say it as what? That's the question that everybody needs to answer eventually, right?
I believe that whoever wants to be corrupt will be corrupt. It's not a matter of how much money you receive. You want more money. Someone that has an inordinate thirst for money will always look for more money whenever it presents itself. So a judge who wants to be corrupt will still be corrupt in spite of.
Okay.
I disagree with that position. Because I think if you're certain that this money will come in by the time you retire, you have some form of security, some form of assurance, so you are fine with it. But when you're not sure, you start to look for other means to make it up to that level. That's where the corruption comes in.
It doesn't.
I think I'll agree with her that sometimes it aids. It
Yes.
might not be the very reason. It aids. I recall that 2 months ago or 3, just before the elections, a judge of the Lagos State High Court, retired judge of the Lagos State High Court, cried out that his entitlement has not been paid for the last 8 months. I mean, what a life! You come out and what you're entitled to has not been paid to you, and you begin to remember those that came to you trying to curry your favor because there was a matter before you, and you refuse to take it out of integrity. And today, you are languishing in abject poverty.
Okay, so the what you would have collected when favor is scurried from you, you would have stashed it away, or maybe lodged it with a pension fund administrator to be paying you in your old age.
Well, we don't know.
Okay, so whoever wants to be corrupt,
we were not there. Right? Yes.
At least you know that you've made some form of money that you've kept for whenever it is that you retire. You have that assurance. I mean, you were collecting bribes, so you're certain. But when you're not sure of where your money is going to come from, you're not sure of getting paid, it makes you want to do some certain kind of thing. But when you're certain that, oh, when I retire, I'll get this money, I'll get this pension, you relax and just do your job, and you don't aid corruption.
Well, for whatever it's
highly
worth,
doubtful.
for whatever it's
Whoever
worth,
wants to
I
be
believe.
corrupt will be.
Yeah, I believe the idea was to give them a level of consistency and satisfaction.
Now I'm hearing
And
you
to come.
say the idea was, isn't this an amendment that has just been, or was it always like that?
No, the amendment, it wasn't always like that.
So you're saying
like
the
I said,
idea was.
no, I mean the idea of ensuring that the judicial officers have a comfortable retirement plan. The idea was to make sure they don't worry about the future. Right?
Okay,
And
now we're talking about
the failure to pay, as at when due, now raise that concern that judges have to be crying out in public, granting interviews and saying, we are suffering. And when I sit down in a Calabar to imagine a judge in Lagos say, I'm suffering, I'm scared about tomorrow, and might begin to get ideas. But when now we say, oh, our money is coming as I when due, why do you have, what justifications do you have? You have no justification to start getting itchy fingers. So you calm down and do what you got to do.
Okay, so I'm now thinking of magistrates.
All right. Yeah.
So magistrates have not been taken care of in that manner. So are they left alone to
I got-
so that you can go appeal to the stable high court judge who has been satisfied and will do the right thing?
No, I think there's been this very large disparity between the condition of service of magistrates and that of the judges of the state. I mean, there's a wide disparity.
And then when you're talking about wide disparity, I remember the district court chairman.
Well,
Those ones that even
Well, like you say, they are the lower benches, so a lot of things happen down there.
There's customary courts.
Yeah. So you see, what I mean by wide disparity, if a state high court judge tells you my take-home pay doesn't take me home, they pay me a paltry 2 million naira monthly, and the magistrate will like, oh,
you won't see that.
You see up to that. If they give me half of that, I'm in the seventh heaven too, right?
Yeah.
And now they've increased your age of retiring to 70, and we are still struggling at 60 and wondering what will happen after 60. You know, life begins to a lot of people at 60. That's when you start to get very active because you've shedded a lot of weight. Kids have gone to school and retired, and you are just looking for coffee to drink and watch TV, and you're beginning to imagine how to go to Germany and France, and you don't have the funds to fund that. I mean, that's when life begins, especially for those that had businesses, thriving businesses. Okay, so I just feel, like she said, a bit sorry for the magistrate. Okay, so you take a legal practitioner that's been practicing for a period of time, and you tell them, oh, there's an appointment, can you apply? Why do you want me to apply to be magistrate? You want me to die? Because you work almost as hard as the judges, but you are not compensated.
Okay, so maybe the almost is what makes the difference. All right, because if you want to talk about, because I've heard you talk about uncertainty of retirement benefits, and primary school teachers come to my mind. So it means that if we were to go by people being uncertain of their retirement benefits, I wonder what primary school teachers are supposed to do to ensure their old age, to secure their old age. They don't have who to curry favor from.
You mean who?
Primary school teachers.
Why did they come into this discussion?
Yeah, because you were talking about retirement benefits, not being certain about retirement.
No, because I'm trying to understand how they straight it.
Yeah, straight, because you kept on emphasizing that not being sure of their retirement benefits can make them stray, as if they are the only ones who are not sure of retirement benefits.
I'm definitely not going to discuss that. All right, let's go back to our third topic for discussion. Now, innovations are coming to the legal jurisprudence of Nigeria, which includes administration of criminal justice, law, and acts. In several countries, in several states, you have the law, and you have the act at the national. Part of the innovations, probably we think, which was to aid the swift adjudication of cases, quick dispensation of justice, was this idea of plea bargain. All right, plea bargain has come in. It appears it has come in to stay, but there are pros and cons of plea bargain. Today, it appears the cons are outweighing the pros of plea bargain. What's a plea bargain? Maybe that's where we'll start from. Who can assist us? Yes, you want to do that, please. Just
basically, the idea of plea bargain is it's an agreement between the defendant in a criminal case and the prosecution in order to reduce maybe your offense or to reduce the sentence, depending on which one. Now, it is the idea of the defendant pleading to a lesser offense than what you were originally charged with. For instance, you're charged with attempted murder or murder, and then you decide to plead to something like manslaughter or assault. So this is done in order to, let's say, enhance the fast, jurisdiction,
adjudication of the cases.
Yes, something like that, or maybe in order for the defendant to cooperate with the prosecution to achieve a particular goal.
You save time, save cost of litigation and other things. Yeah, and you have anything different, or you almost in sync? Or you
no, I don't have anything different.
Okay.
Because plea bargain, the word bargain, you are now bargaining like you go to market and say, I'm selling this 100 naira, and you say, no, I want it for 50 naira. So they are bargaining the charge, and then they come to an agreement. What you do is you plead guilty at once, so there's no trial, because a trial is to establish guilt.
Yes.
You're charged with an offense, and then we go to court. a trial is to establish whether the person is guilty or not guilty. But in a plea bargain like that, you already plead guilty to the charge that you have agreed with the prosecution. So the go to court is not trial again, it's sentencing.
Exactly, and because of that, it undermines the constitutional provision of fair hearing. You already and presumption of innocence, because you're already admitting the person to guilt before going to trial. So you don't have any opportunity to plead your case. You're just accepting it.
But does it undermine? You agreed, you weren't coerced to.
No, but sometimes it could be called coercion.
Yes.
Sometimes it could be called coercion, because if you look at it and the odds that are stacked against you, doesn't mean you are guilty, but in fact keep pointing at you, and you know but for real that you're not guilty, but that circumstantially you were there at the time of the offense, and there's a presumption which might, if not properly defended, tilt against you. Anyway, we will go on a short break now, and when we come back we will expound more on that, and we'll also open the phone lines for listeners who would wish to call in and have a conversation, ask questions, and whatever contributions to any of the topics that we have raised today. It's the short break comes.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters counsel is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this
lord.
an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
If you're just joining us, this is Legally Speaking on Play Radio 101.1 FM and Spectrum TV, Star Times, and Free to 8 Television. My name is still Anthony Ebuk, and I'm here with Hannah Hussein and Precious Ita. The numbers to call if you want to call in is 090-222-31011. The alternative number to call is 070-454-17707. All right? We expect you to call in, ask questions, make contributions. Let's make this program very interesting. We have been talking on very recently plea bargaining, and we are looking at some aspects of plea bargaining that is scary, right? Worrisome. A justice of the High Court has just been elevated. Federal High Court has just been elevated to the Court of Appeal. His name is Justice Okun Abang. All right. Now, sometime last year, Justice Okun Abang raised an alarm on a plea bargain case that he had before him, and that matter had to do with 200 million naira worth of crude that was stolen. All right. Now, the facts are that about 10 defendants were appeared before him. They were charged of for stealing crude worth 200 million naira. Now, as the case progressed and it got to his court, he found that the prosecution had taken leave of court to dissipate the crude, to sell off the crude and paying the money into the government coffers. Crude of 200 and something million naira was sold at 17 million naira. That was on one part. Later on, a plea bargain deal was struck, and the plea bargain deal was to set these people who were allegedly caught and arrested for stealing that much crude from Nigeria. The plea bargain ended with each of them asked to pay 2,000 naira as penalty or fine. to be free. 2,000 naira, I repeat it. And beyond that, the trucks that were confiscated were asked to be returned to them upon the payment of 5 naira. And the judge screamed, what the hell is going on in Nigeria? So I come back to you, Misita. What the hell is going on in Nigeria?
Don't swear, please.
Oh yes, what's really going on?
Well, I'm really confused at that case, because to start with, when you are, putting a defendant to a plea bargain, it's supposed to be accepting a lower offense. But in this case, I really...
Hello, let's take this call. Hello.
Good evening. Good evening to my questionnaire lady.
Yes.
Is my name. I call him Fabi Duran.
Okay, Mr. Tonetu.
Yes, I am.
The different teacher.
I want to find out from you. You are talking about pre-bargaining.
Yes.
I want to find out from you the aspect of pre-bargaining. Is it you are one of your guests in the studio has made mention of the fact that it's just bargaining to plead guilty. I want to find out, is it before going to the court that all these things is done, or in the court? Because I'm contemplating how somebody will just come to, when you read a case and you plead guilty, how will you bargain at that point in time? Then away from that, I want to also find out from you, our president is signing a lot of bills into law now. The tribunal is ongoing. I want to find out from you, if after the tribunal and the court happens to see that the election was not free and fair and annul that election, what will happen to those bills? Will the bills still become a law?
All right.
Or what will happen at that point? Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Tonetu. I really appreciate your call. Precious, you take the first question to keep it in the parking lot. Let me take the second one. Now, the president is signing bill. Is he signing as an acting president or a proposed president? He's signing as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, duly sworn in. He has the oath of office. He can hire and fire. He can do anything now as the president of Nigeria, whereas the case is pending in court. We've had several instances. Even Peter Obi had that when he was a governor, and he was sworn in, and after somebody had gone into office and performed the functions, the law recognizes him as the president of Nigeria, bearing the decision of the court eventually. If the court confirms him as president, he continues. If the court says you're no longer a president, a new person will be sworn in, and the tenure of that person starts from that date. That's why you have staggered election in some states like Anambra and Ogun State, is it? Oshun or thereabouts, where you have mid-year elections, okay? Because people were sworn in after the May 29 dates. That doesn't stop the other person who was in. Everything he did was done legitimately and was done with the consent of the law. So the president has the right to go on, sign laws, receive salaries and emoluments, and receive presidents and envoys, foreign envoys, as the president of Nigeria. There's no vacuum in power. Thank you very much. Yes, so we come back to you. With respect to plea bargaining, he wants an explanation on whether plea bargaining is done within court, outside court, anyhow. Let's have how you will explain it.
When a defendant is arrested, that's when an accused is arrested, you're brought before the judge in a court. At that point, your charge is read before you. Charge is basically the offense that you've committed is read before you for you to take a plea. Either you plead guilty or not guilty. At this point, the issue of plea bargaining will come up, and you may be asked, after you've been read your charges, you may be asked if you want to plead to a lesser offense or you want to stick with the offense that you've been charged with. That is the point that you accept the plea bargain. It is at arraignment in the court, not at home, not in the prison.
Okay.
It is in court.
All right. But I think I want to buttress more on that. A plea bargain is a deal struck between the prosecution and the defendant. Sometimes it happens whilst you're in the court, like she has said. The matter has gone on with another charge. Then whilst it's ongoing, you can call them and say, I want to plead for a lesser charge so we don't stay too long in court. I don't fancy this long drawn battle we are going into. What can you offer? They can tell, okay, we can offer you two years imprisonment, 2 years in the custodial center, correctional center instead of 10 years if you are convicted. And the judge will approve of that. That's sentence bargaining. So you plead guilty, the judge doesn't have to waste his time taking evidence. They just take the facts of the case and sentence you after you've agreed to the fact that you're guilty. Now, on that count also, the prosecution can equally amend his charge to charge you of a lesser offense than the one that you are facing now. So like she had said previously, if you're standing trial for murder, hello, good evening.
Good evening. Nicholas speaking.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. God bless you for the nice job you people are doing.
Thank you, sir.
I greet the two gentle ladies in the studio.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Your name and where you're calling from?
It's Friday, and this is Friday from Ibionebo.
Friday from Ibionebo. Welcome to a happy Friday.
Thank you. God bless you. My own is a kind of advice, because I know after teachers, the following people who are supposed to benefit most is the judges and the people working in the judiciary, so that if they can avoid bribe and other things that would thwart the effort of the judiciary, take the hope of the last hope of a common man. So I prefer that. So if this Ferry administration and His Excellency will sign me bill or take care of the judiciary, I would love and I would like it so much. Because if we have the like of our former Chief Judge of our State, Honorable Justice Godwin Abraham, those are the people who fear God and they do the correct job in this state, which I saw and in my. I want to commend this very administration to take care of the judiciary people so that we can get it right, because after God will create us is the judiciary. So thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Friday, for giving us such admonitions. All right. So
when I listened to him, he said he wanted to be clear.
Okay.
That you can just come into court and
yes,
say that you're.
That's exactly where I'm going to. Upon arrest, whilst you are in the custody of the prosecution, like the EFCC, the civil defense, or the police, you can still strike a deal. Okay, we'll go to court, but please don't charge me for this. Don't charge me for armed robbery. You can charge me for stealing. Stealing carries a lesser offense. Armed robbery carries
lesser sentence.
Lesser sentence, I mean to say. Armed robbery carries life imprisonment and death sentence. But stealing will carry 7 years imprisonment. I will restitute whatever I had stolen. Okay? For that lesser charge. That's what plea bargain was supposed to be for. Because there are people that have been convicted, sentenced to death for stealing pencil, for stealing 20 naira, because they had a weapon. And they said I had an umbrella, it wasn't a gun. But an umbrella can be termed as a weapon. And now the way the law is, armed robbery is defined to include, the element of armed robbery doesn't necessarily mean you must show the weapon. No. Because as long as the victim felt intimidated and had this fear that you could have been armed, is enough for a conviction. And if that witness comes to say, yes, I was afraid he probably was armed, I didn't see the arm, the state can say there's a presumption he wasn't armed, but with that fear, it's enough for him to be hanged. Why don't you give him stealing?
Okay.
So we drop the penalty section to 7 to 14 years imprisonment, and it comes out reformed. That was the idea of plea bargain. But you see, the way we have turned plea bargain, we've turned it. If you go to the EFCC now and ask them for cybercrime cases they've done, cybercrime, what you people normally call Yahoo Yahoo, yes, they've had several hundreds of thousands of convictions, but none of them has custodial sentencing, except one in Akwa Ibom State, which was just last year, where one of them was convicted for 10 years imprisonment. The rest of them plea bargain, and none of them stays in custody. A young boy would steal 200 million naira from people collectively, and he goes to plead guilty, and the court will ask him to pay 500,000 and walk. Tomorrow he buys a new laptop because they will forfeit the laptop. He pay the 200,000 and leave custody and go home, sin no more. He buys a new laptop because he already has stashed away 120 million. All right, and they will ask him to restitute maybe 2 million naira to the federal government. What happens to the victim of these crimes? Do you understand? So,
yeah, I know. Because this particular the case you raised, the bunkering thing, the prosecution came and amended
the charge, yes.
The charge to what was worth punishing 2,000 naira fine. So there was nothing the judge could do, and that's where I am worried. The judge here was angry. A charge was brought. You saw what was brought before you at first, that these people have stolen oil, and then the charge is amended. The prosecution comes and changes the charge to something else that you can only sentence with 2,000 naira fine, and we are here with plea bargaining. You can't do anything about it. Prosecution agrees with defendants. Come and amend a charge that was already in court is allowed.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Tony. Yeah, I still need to back on the line.
Welcome, Mr. Tony.
I called back to tell you thank you. The summary and everything is totally convinced to me. Thank you very much. But I want to deduce by saying that the essence of this particular pre-bargaining is tantamount to total corruption. Or maybe there is a will that somebody, no man situation in this case. Because based on what the judge you talked about, all theft and all that, so you can see the monstrous amount of money involved and how much that is paid. And you've talked about the victims now that may, victim of this circumstance. My barrister, I want to quickly say that in this case, I think they should amend such laws so that whatever thing you do, you face the consequences, so that it will be a deterrent, act as a deterrent to others to desist from such acts. The situation of somebody will now say, I have somebody and I have how much money I can pre-bargain and get to home with, certain things that will keep me going. And that person will continue to indulge in that crime. I think it's very uncalled for. So let's look into it and amend in such a way that if you steal 100 million, you should be able to refund all the money totally before you can be given such a pre-bargain situation. That's what I think should happen. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Tony Etu. Well, I think Tony, okay.
But I'm thinking now that if you're accused of stealing 100 million, there has to be trial to prove that he actually stole the 100 million.
Well, you see, before the trial, that's even why plea bargain comes in. They will have evidence which they will confront you with.
Okay.
And if you agree that you made that such haste, then they can ask you to restitution is what it's called. They restitute the 100 million. But how do you know that's all he stole? He might have stolen more, and just the 100 million is what you've got him with.
And that's what you have evidence for. Even if you were to go to trial, you wouldn't have evidence for the other ones.
Yes,
that
and that still wouldn't amount to a full-scale restitution. Now, I agree with Tony too. You see, this issue of plea bargain is a tight rope for prosecution. Because a man steals 400 million naira and he comes to the prosecution, and if you have a corrupt, like he said, a corrupt-minded prosecution team,
yes,
they simply tell you, break the money into two. We work with half, you work with half, and we give something to the state, which appeared to be what happened in this case.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, what happens is prosecution who decides they are going to court,
yes,
or they are not going to court.
They can withdraw that matter and walk away.
It is prosecution that decides whether they're going to take you to court in a criminal matter, right?
Yes.
Let's get that clear.
Yes.
You're accused of stealing. The police may decide not to prosecute, and that's that. So they now come and bargain with you this thing you've stolen, you're going to give us 80%, and then we'll accuse you of stealing
lesser.
Wow.
And besides, the matter is already in court. So,
Well, I think in this particular case that we're talking about, it was not for a lesser offense. It was more of a lesser sentence.
a lesser sentence.
Yes, because if it's for a lesser offense, we would have heard of the
No,
offense.
it's a
No,
lesser
they
offense.
amended the
They amended the charge for
For
lesser
the charge
offense.
to be amended, it
And
means that
yes.
they were now charged with something less.
What were they charged?
Because he
Something
says
where
that
the
something that the
penalty
penalty was 2,000 naira.
Fine.
Fine, yes. So Kubemi just attempting to steal
So
crude.
that is it's a very uncomfortable thing.
And now it
makes
brings to
me
mind the story of
uncomfortable.
the suspended EFCC chairman. You know, sometime in 2001, the story was rife that whilst he was the zonal commandant in Rivers State, Port Harcourt zonal command, he sold 244 trucks. Each of those trucks were worth 20 to 30 million naira, and he sold them for 100,000 naira each. 244 trucks.
He did not
He
admit
was
to that.
no, he didn't have to admit. He didn't have to. He admitted because when he was queried, he said the then chairman Magu had ordered or approved the sale. Chairman came back into town, went to Port Harcourt and confirmed the story. He was suspended. He was, would I say, arrested and detained. And whatever happened after that, we just know that he became chairman. So how do you justify that? 244 trucks sold at 100,000. Each of those tires, just the tire in each of those trucks is more than 100,000.
The issue of plea bargain has become more of a disaster honestly, it has become more of a disaster than help to the country, because it's like a window. If I commit a crime, I can get away with it if I just accept to something lower or pay a lower amount, or possibly if I know somebody, I have like a way out, and it encourages crime. I can just say, okay, I have somebody in the judicial system. If I do this, I'll get away with it, and I'll go back, I'll do it again. Other people seeing it that, oh, you can actually do this thing and get away with it.
Yes.
They'll be encouraged.
That's as soon as, I mean, there are some lawyers, as soon as they are called, they know who to call. Oh, my client wants to plead guilty.
Yes.
What's the deal? Give us a deal. And these boys, the judicial officer, the state councils, are not ready to stress themselves. I'm going to get a conviction. What they want is a report of conviction. As long as it's a conviction,
yeah, because the plea bargain, when you plead guilty, because that's what it means. The charge is reduced, and you accept that charge that you're guilty of it. So it's a conviction. It's not a trial. You're sentenced for that. So you've been convicted. Now I'm thinking, because I understand that we have just brought this plea bargaining in
from 2004. That's
okay,
when it was introduced
2004.
to Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes.
But it wasn't active because most states like Akwa Ibom just signed theirs into law last year, so it was just hanging there somewhere in the federal high court, and it wasn't totally activated. It was fully activated with this what they call it, with this with these Yahoo cases, cyber crime, and with this you know, when you go to bank, you are given targets. When you start giving prosecution targets of conviction, they look for convictions everywhere. All right, because the chairman wants to post convictions. We've had 4,000 convictions in 1 year. What kind of conviction? How many people are in jail? Nobody is in custody. Everybody just walked on the day they went to court.
Okay, so I'm thinking, even if it's 2004, we were comfortable. I mean, by 2004, Nigeria was it 54 years old? So we were comfortably running our judicial system without this plea bargaining of a thing. And we suddenly brought it in. And I'm thinking, why don't we knock it out again? Because, yeah, you talked about how it helps somebody whose chances of proving his innocence against a heavier charge that he's not guilty of is very slim, so it's safer for the plea bargain thing. But from what we're seeing here, I don't know if there's a way it could be separated. Yes, fine. Other countries are doing it. We can tweak our own and bring in to avoid this kind of thing, because it's very sad.
Maybe all we need to do is to say, okay, you can go ahead with plea bargain, but each time you have a plea bargain, there must be a custodial sentence. It must be custodial, and not for you to pay 2,000 naira. There must be restitution of the full amount and custody. Maybe that will help. Outside that, I think it will not really help us. All right, I think that's as much as we can take today on Legally Speaking. I have been with Hannah Essien. Always a pleasure having you around. And Precious Ita. All right, gentlemen, I thank you for coming in. And for those who called in, we really appreciate the call. My name remains Anthony Ebuk. I'm a legal practitioner. We hope everything you do from now till next week we meet again, same time. We'll be legal.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.